Alright, so today we're talking about a character that has appeared in Resident Evil 6 and was very interesting in terms of backstory and setting up a future storyline, but has since disappeared. If you don't know who I'm talking about by now, it's obviously Jake Muller from Resident Evil 6. He is a new character introduced in the game and has pretty significant ties to characters from every game prior to 6. One in particular, which we'll get to later on. But it's weird that he hasn't come back yet. Do I think he will? It's possible. Anything's possible. But it's just weird that since Resident Evil 6 released, he's not been mentioned since. But either way, today we're going to be going over the story of him, the backstory, and just the events leading up to RE6. So without any further ado, let's just jump into it. Okay, so Jake is a mercenary. He was raised in Eastern Europe, and he basically is raised where you first see him in Resident Evil 6. He was raised there, but he did mercenary work around the world. But now he's back there helping a bunch of Edonia Liberation Army kind of generals deal with the situation, which also didn't really go well in his favour either. A lot of the help that the Estonian army did have was from mercenaries, and, you know, obviously they were trying to help deal with the C virus outbreak and stuff like that, and it just didn't really go to plan. What happened basically to cause the C virus to kind of outbreak significantly was a doctor by the name of Carla came to Edonia and provided samples to the militants, the soldiers in the Estonian army, under the impression that it was just nutritional supplements, but it was in fact injections of the C virus. What's even more interesting is obviously they all took that in, again, convinced that it was just nutrition supplements and would help them kind of be a bit more alert, a bit more awake. What's interesting is they all took it and they all kind of turned into the C virus Duavo, but Jake didn't. Like, he took it and nothing happened. His antibodies basically fought off the virus completely. And it's later found out that this is because Jake is actually the son of Albert Wesker, and Albert Wesker is obviously the main villain throughout Resident Evil 1 through 5, essentially. And that's a big deal. It's a really big deal in terms of storylines and stuff like that. But again, it was kind of just left in Resident Evil 6, which is weird. I don't think we actually know who his mother is, so someone was with Wesker at the time, but we don't know who that is. I don't think she was ever actually named, but the important part is his dad is basically the main villain of all of the original games. Now, in terms of his actual backstory, there's not really a lot of kind of relevant information. More so the fact that he has been a mercenary for a very long time. He was trained by the Edonian army to fight, and he's very, very skilled compared to most others, and that's mainly because of his blood. Obviously, it's very important throughout the story of RE6. So, as you can probably imagine, he's a bit more able to handle himself in fights due to his blood being that kind of enhanced blood that Wesker has in later games that you see. But yeah, essentially he was a mercenary, travelled across the world, just doing mercenary jobs for people. One thing that happened to him significantly was he was out with his squad, and basically he was ambushed and his team was basically killed, except him, and he found out that his kind of, like, the leader of his mercenary group sold them out. So he did have a bit of trust issues after that and did try to work alone as much as possible. Doesn't really believe in people after that event, because basically he was sold out and tried to be killed. But honestly, the backstory was there's really not a lot to go off of. It's more a case of the information that's really important is given to you in Resident Evil 6. Obviously finding out that he's Wesker's son and that he has antibodies that will literally cure people of the C virus. And it's just interesting that he's kind of not returned yet. I think it might be likely that he will eventually, because he didn't die or anything like that. He just kind of drove away at the end of the game. But it's weird that he hasn't really made a return yet. Then again, I don't think loads of people were a huge fan of his when the game came out. I think he was fine. I think his campaign was probably the more interesting of the three, because it was new character, new story and stuff like that. But it's just weird that he hasn't come back yet. Well, that's basically going to do it for today. Obviously, there's not really a lot to go off of. It's more the character was introduced in one game. There wasn't a lot of backstory. A lot of the backstory was covered in the game, and a lot of the more important details of the character are explained in the game. Will he return? I don't know. Do you want him to return? Let me know. Because I know a lot of people, although the character wasn't really enjoyed that much, I know a decent amount of people really did like it and were interested in the storyline. I think a lot of people do want Wesker to come back in some way in future titles, so maybe this is a start of that. It could be a start of that. But as always, you know, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you like him? Do you want him to come back? Do you think he wasn't a good character? Do let me know, because I am interested in hearing everyone's kind of opinions on this kind of thing. Next character video will be out in a couple of days, a few days time maybe. And I think we're going to go over Sheva. Kind of move away from Resident Evil 6 temporarily. There's a few more characters I already said I want to go over, but until then, we're going to move away for a little bit. So yeah, thank you for coming by. Remember to leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for another video.